Yo, who's ready to get happy for a whole hour of it? It's an hour of it. Oh man, hey, so I saw here's a good way to start up a happy hour. Immediately talk politics, but I had my I had my mind blown by one little factoid. Today on the Twitters, I saw Stassi, John Stossel, post another video. This one about plastic bags. Have you heard about this one, Justin? Plastic bags unbanned.
Very frustratingly so for your old boy Gerbs, who now that grocery shopping is its own separate hassle these days with they're limiting how many people get in. You don't want to go as often, and we don't have a car, so I walk because the Whole Foods isn't far from our place, right? It's the closest grocery store. Walk to the Whole Foods. And I had this cool little like stroller, basically like a roller thing that I think Whole Foods even sold us. It was like a thing.
Oh, you weren't able to bring in your reusable bag because
they wouldn't let you?
Well, so to Brian's point, yes, plastic bags unbanned because a lot of the bag bans that came in were in service for reusable bags because, why have one use things when you can have multi-use things, clutter, waste, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, in a world where we're talking about bacteria staying on things, disposable things now have a new relevance.
Yeah.
And to that point, Whole Foods has now banned the use of reusable bags inside of the store. So
Wow.
I wasn't banned from bringing it in, but I did get a very polite talking to from a nice young man who explained to me that would be the last time that I would be allowed to bring in my little roller thing.
Wow.
Well, so the interesting part is, of course, now we have a very sort of terrifying black and white version of the same conundrum that was always there, which was 97% of all people never washed their reusable bag, and E. coli would collect on it and that kind of stuff. But the part that blew my mind was the question of there's two things. It's like, well, if we're using plastic bags, we throw them away, and then Stossel trots out the fact that we're not exactly starved for landfill space. If I want to say this is going to be wrong, but 100 years of trash wastage can go in an 18 square mile dump, which is pretty well managed. But the big question was all of this is leading up to this one thing that I did not know. The next question is well, what about the oceans? They're drowning in plastic, right? He drops that all of North America contributes to 1% of all the trash in the oceans, which I did not know. And so then the question becomes okay, if we're only contributing to 1% of the trash, then do we need to ban all of our plastics here since we seem to be pretty responsible about it? And then the counter, the Greenpeace dude said, well, we got to lead by example. And I'm like,
that is the argument on that was the argument for the Paris Accords as well. That the United States contributes X amount, a smaller fraction to carbon pollution, and we had a stricter path via the Paris Accords. But the argument is, if we don't, then how are we ever going to talk to India or China about getting their act together? Which, if you look at where a lot of the carbon pollution is, it is from developing nations that are still in a different phase of their economy
and manufacturing heavy, right?
That's the thing. And a lot of that has kind of come from us offsetting manufacturing to China because it's cheaper. Although who knows where that goes in the next 10 years, because China's found themselves in quite a pickle these days.
Oh yeah, has there been any gossip or leaks about whether what is the quote unquote evidence for it being a lab manufactured virus.
There's not a lot of evidence to say that it was lab manufactured. The most credible thing that is out there, and again, let's preface all of this with we don't know, and please don't take anything at face value from somebody who's
please pro tip, don't get your science from a comedy podcast.
No,
including about plastics and recycling.
Yeah. The only thing that is reasonable to say is that there is a virology lab in Wuhan where it was about 30 minutes walking from where the wet market it is supposed to be at. And there is gossip, if not hard proven evidence that this virus was being studied in that lab. And there, by accident, it got out. But there's not a lot to say that it was manufactured in a lab or weaponized in a lab or anything like that. The only thing that I think that still deserves to be on the let's wait and see list is some kind of lab accident.
I mean, I guess politically speaking, the effort on behalf of the administration is to essentially grab themselves a blame game coupon so that they can, throw that out there.
Well, it's not just the United States. Europe is getting a little steamed as well.
The Italians have a vote have a say in this.
Yeah, Germany's floating the idea of like reparations that like China's going to need to cut a check.
Wow.
I mean, I guess that makes sense if we make Exxon pay reparations and clean up the environment for spilling oil all over, Alaska, then,
who?
Well, like let's say they essentially, if this is the viral equivalent of an oil spill, then the responsible or the irresponsible party that spilled the oil has to pay to clean it up. Basically.
I guess that presumes that China created it or negligently controlled it, though.
That is the assertion.
That is the assumption. The assumption specifically in that China cut off inter-China travel from Wuhan to other parts of China, but allowed people from Wuhan to go outside of the country. Like that is where people are pointing and saying like, wait a minute, you knew something was going on because you restricted internal travel, but yet you did not restrict it from going to other parts of the world, which I am always with the Chinese government and with any kind of authoritarian regime there to blame, the layers of government from not communicating effectively amongst each other more than I am any kind of top down like if we're sick then the world will be sick, but that in Chinese. I'm always more on the side of like, no, somebody didn't want to get fired or disappeared, and so they didn't tell their boss who didn't tell their boss, and maybe if they did then it was soft pedaled up the ranks because nobody wants to be at fault for it. And by the time that it was so big of a problem that nobody could ignore it, it was, when you're dealing with something as infectious as coronavirus, it had kind of taken its toll throughout the world.
Yeah, I guess that's back to the oil spill metaphor. Even if it is just pure incompetence, don't we usually charge people to clean up or for helping to pay for cleaning up their mess? Whether they intended to make a mess or not.
I mean, the problem is that you're not dealing with, Exxon is a company that needs to have agreements with countries, right? Mm-hmm. China is a country that needs to have agreements with countries, but like China's not going away. Exxon could theoretically go away. It'd be hard for it to go away because it has an entrenched position, but we could live in a world where Exxon doesn't exist. It will probably be a longer timeline before we live in a world where China doesn't exist.
Unless Tibet overthrows everything. They reverse it, and then it becomes free China.
It's like, this is falling just as we had planned.
Even the fingers feel a little inappropriate, Justin.
It doesn't? That's not...
A little sinister.
No? A little sinister. The Dalai Lama, you can't imagine the Dalai Lama never does this with his fingers.
What day is it?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah. It's been a long week.
Bryce.
Hi.
I mean, among the list of things that this fucking virus has stolen from us, do you realize that this is Cinco de Mayo on Taco Tuesday.
Oh God damn it!
It was not until John we did the bizarre briefing earlier, and John goes, "Did you have your tacos yet today?" And I went, "What the fuck?" And I didn't. he didn't even like explain himself at first. I had to ask him to explain himself.
You're like,
because...
I know my last name is Castillo, but Jesus.
And then and then we did
And
just
John's
have,
like, Bryce, have you had your tacos today?
Yeah, man. I'm not usually like a taco. I was a Taco Tuesday person in college because there was a great taco place nearby that would do dollar tacos on Tuesday, and they were nice and greasy and the good cheese. But I'm not a Taco Tuesday person. But with Cinco de Mayo as well, we went and got some torches.
Tell you what, there's good tacos down at the gas station right around like on the way from the studio to Brian's neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which I know because those were the tacos that got served to me when the menacing silhouette
when the
of
Kingpin
Jay
showed up.
came marauding into
the
but then I went back there the last time that I was down there, I went back and damn, especially for breakfast tacos.
They're good.
Tacos.
Their lunch and dinner tacos got a kick. They got a kick.
Yeah, no, yeah, they got some spice.
Let's spice it up.
So
Spicing up your life.
So Bryce,
hi. Tacos of the world, spice up your life.
how's your face?
We have to talk
What
about
happened to your face?
Oh my God!
So-
let me send a picture.
Yes,
or three.
So on Sunday we were filming some ads and filming some other stuff in the soundstage, and we had done one ad in there, and I had moved the C stand, the big heavy video production stand, into a certain spot in the soundstage, so they're going to be in the background. It kind of looks like, oh, this is where they do videos. And so I'm setting up another light for another thing after this, and it's if people have seen some of the recent Modern Rogue videos, they know where the chalkboard is on the left side, on the camera left side of the stage, and so that's the C stand was on the left end of that, and so I'm behind all of that. I'm setting up a light, and I walk back and I smash my face into the C stand, turning around.
Now,
at full speed.
to set the scene, we're shooting some videos that I called you about on Sunday evening, and so Bonnie
and the kids are there.
Yeah,
as
just
well.
chaos. There's ping pong happening. We're trying to get them all corralled. We're getting ready to turn off the lights, and we're gonna have to get them quiet so we could shoot a thing. And in the middle of all this, Bryce goes around back, turns on one light, comes back. I hear a thud, and then I hear, "Fuck!"
And I immediately was like, there are little girls in here. They just heard me curse.
He corrects me by saying, "Sorry, girls, I meant fudge."
And so we start doing this thing, and we probably do 10, 15 minutes of this thing. And in the middle of it, you stop and go, You know you're bleeding, right?
Well, that's the thing is after the girls get out, we're shooting. We're halfway through the shoot.
It's just us.
And it's just going.
And I have not looked at myself yet. And he goes, "You're bleeding." So I touch and I see the blood on my fingers, and I'm like, "We're almost done. Let's just finish shooting this thing."
This is a pro.
That's a gamer. Oh, Bryce, the hockey player. He's like, whatever. My shift's not done.
The worst part of the experience wasn't. I mean, hitting the thing was pretty bad, and it's still a little tender, but it's mostly fine now. The worst part about it was Brian immediately going, "Oh, you're gonna need a stitch." Just immediately going, "You're gonna need a stitch on that."
I said you might. I said might. I said you might want to stitch. And
we cleaned it up and it's fine. But.
Yeah. Well, so what happened for me? The worst part was finishing the shoot. That gap between recognizing, oh, there's a problem, but having to continue like everything's fine. It reminded me of a little bit of like hacking the system after we watched a dude get run over by a car, where it's like we just got to get through this. And so we did, and then it's like immediately it's like, let's go look in the mirror. Let's go check that out. And it as you can see, Justin, it
No,
looks...
there's definitely a bunch of color around the face, so there's a little discoloration, and then there's the big the gash in the brow.
Yeah, so it ended up being right entirely inside the eyebrow. So it really, people will not be able to see it on camera here. And it wasn't very deep. It wouldn't really split if we pulled.
That was the scariest part. Was I was like I immediately saw that the length was enough. Like I've had things that long that needed a stitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I was like, just try to give it a gentle tug, because if like on my knuckle, it just opened up, and that's why I was supposed to get a stitch on there.
Yeah.
But in your case, it was more like a boxing cut on there.
Yeah, it broke the skin, obviously, but it wasn't, I guess, deep enough to really split apart at all.
Yeah.
So it's a little tender now. I think it had been a little swollen yesterday, but I don't think it was visible. So yeah, I was kind of excited about having an eyebrow scar.
I didn't know
having a little.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah, a little cut there.
That was the funny part. Was I came home, and because Bonnie was there for you getting your head split, and so I told Bonnie, I was like, Bryce was bleeding, and Bonnie turns and she goes, "What?" And I just pointed to my eyebrow to indicate where, and she goes, "He's so pretty."
Well, so she was talking to me about it, and she felt a little guilty because she had remembered moving that C-stand earlier. And so she was feeling a little guilty because she thought, "Oh, did I put that there?" And
that was definitely the air in the room. There was an audible sigh of relief from both of us when you said, "And I even put that there." Yeah. And then all of us go, "Whew."
But yeah, battle scars. And then and I just keep banging myself up the past couple of days, and
yeah. What was the latest one?
I slammed my finger in the door yesterday between the shows. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
It was not very bad because that door is not on a hinge or anything. I think it just barely broke the skin, but that was more of a.
I did that. I smashed up. I mean, it's fucking up our shoots because I'm gonna have 2 more months of this. I got like a blood thing.
Oh yeah, you got a real dark thing on your nail.
Oh yeah.
So it's gonna take 2 months for that blood
that
bruise
to fade out.
spread out.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's not bad for modern rogue. Modern rogue should have a.
It is for teaching magic tricks.
Yeah.
when you're doing close-ups on hands, like one of the things we recorded.
I had the same thought, Justin, of like, it'll be fine. People know it, but I think one of the things that we shot over the weekend
was magic stuff.
And we got to see your thumb pretty prominently. I was like, oh, maybe.
It was kind of gross.
Yeah, it looks a little gross. Yeah.
So maybe you need a cosmetic Band-Aid.
Or maybe I just put on like blue nail polish or something. Like make it an affectation.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly Demoda Italian style.
Yeah.
I'll let the girls paint it.
Or even just get you can even get
Yeah, I would say a Band-Aid unless you really need the thumb,
the dexterity on the thumb.
Dexterity, then I would say just throw a Band-Aid on there and be like, all right, I'm Band-Aid man. Look at me.
I'm Band-Aid man.
Oh, I'm Band-Aid man. Yeah, look at we're having a good Band-Aid time.
I'm a Band-Aid man in Band-Aid land.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Living with my latex.
Do you care about this Nick Cage, Joe Exotic thing?
I really don't. I don't even understand why anyone's excited about it. I mean, like get back to me when you got something to watch.
They should have waited a year and said like, hey, remember Tiger King?
Yes.
I'm gonna have Nick Cage now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they flattened the curve of our excitement on Tiger King.
The bigger thing is that it's the American Vandal people doing it who I think are really smart and fun. And so that I'm excited about, but I'm almost less excited that they are doing it like it's they got the rights to, I think it was like a Texas Monthly article about Joe Exotic. So it does talk about his, rivalry with Carol Baskin and whatever, the other guy who steals the zoo. But like, I don't know. I would rather, much in the same way that American Vandal was a takeoff on Making a Murderer, I would love to just say for them, no, do your version,
do a parody
of Tiger King. Yeah, do a parody of Tiger King.
Yeah, make it a don't even be constrained by trying to tell any factual anything. Instead, capture the essence of it, but with satire
or just
and insanity.
take a totally different view on it, because
James Wild's Big Dog House,
or the world wolves. Of crocodile tamers, or make it all Australian.
But I bet
it's
I
kinda-
feel like
yeah.
CBS doesn't do that. I feel like CBS.
No.
Yeah, I think if it was a Viacom thing or like a Paramount thing, because they've done like parodies, like there's a Hulu one, the Hot Wives of Orlando, and it's a Real Housewives parody.
Yeah.
But it takes place in Panhandle, Florida, or wherever Orlando is. I don't know where Orlando is.
That's the center. It's at Central Florida.
Anyway.
So I guess I didn't even think. Is it going to be not a miniseries, a movie, or?
I think it's a miniseries. Would
Yeah,
be
I
my
think it's a
assumption.
miniseries. Yeah, I wouldn't imagine that. Although, isn't it kind of shocking that Nick Cage hasn't done a TV show? I kind of feel like if Nick Cage committed to doing like a Netflix show or something like that,
You know what's
Like,
funny?
that
I was
would
like,
be
yeah, he
very
totally
excited.
did. And then I realized I was thinking of Moonstruck, which was a movie.
yeah.
But
No,
in
I
my
mean-
mind, Moonstruck amounted to a
But
TV
it's like,
show. It
what
might
is
have-
what does Nick Cage always need? A steady job. Like, what is television to the point of detriment for many actors? A steady job. Like,
Mm.
you think that would be like the natural fit for Nick Cage?
Oh,
although,
that's interesting because I would have thought the opposite. What does Nick Cage need? Constant variety. What do you never get in television? Constant variety. You just play the same character forever.
but I think the constant variety that Nick Cage needs is variety of sums coming into his bank account for his hilariously legendary overspending.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that. I thought. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, no, just look up like top 10 most outrageous purchases that Nick Cage has made. One of which was a famous haunted house in New Orleans, which he almost immediately put back on sale because he believed it was haunted.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's so good.
Speaking of haunted houses that people bought, I finished up that season 2 of what was it called? Conviction. The one about the Satanic Panic.
Oh, the podcast.
Oh,
Yeah, the podcast.
yeah.
Man, is it good and heartbreaking, and definitely heard a couple of names I was familiar with in there.
Oh, geez.
It actually, the main story takes place down in San Antonio, and it's really remarkable, and
Does it rope in the
they-
thing?
briefly, peripherally. I mean, that's obviously a big part of why I listened to it.
Yeah.
but they are definitely named in there.
Wow.
Yeah, but it does a good job of explaining the wave of hysteria and making you understand why it would happen, and it does a good job of explaining the pushback and the articles that couched everything that caused it to dissolve. And then it did a good job of following up and reminding you that there are human beings still, hanging out in jail for years and years and years afterwards. But throughout the whole thing, it bookends it with a single story of a family down in San Antonio that begins with the horrific setup and then ends with the tearful, heartfelt reunion at the end. And it's just,
wow.
it's just great. It's a complete piece. I liked it a lot.
Wow.
And it's only like maybe 6 hours long, I think.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Maybe I'll check that out. Conviction, you said?
Yeah, Conviction season 2.
Cool.
Let me double check I got that right, but I'm pretty sure.
That does sound right because I know you
I
mentioned
really
it.
think that the Satanic Panic in general could probably just be a weekly show, like just as a variety of a true crime podcast. Like there's so many of those cases that have enough of a difference in it that you could kind of sink into some of the difference in the details.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Oh, also, I should mention that I believe they paid for it to be a Spotify exclusive for some amount of time. So you'll.
Oh.
Bad news, you can only listen on Spotify. Good news, no ads
Oh, okay.
because they're trying.
Oh, yeah.
to,
They only have episode 1 on the other directory. Okay. Huh.
yeah.
Interesting.
Pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, they toss to an ad break, but then just come right back.
Okay. I guess it's Gimlet. They're big. That's their want.
Getting that Spotify money, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild to reach the end of it and then go like, well, what else do I got? And I'm like, what the fuck, Spotify?
I got nothing on here.
I'm like, why am I on Spotify? Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So, what else? What else are we watching?
So I mentioned it during the after talk yesterday. I watched the first 3 Quibbies of Reno 911.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh yeah. So what did you think of Queeby 911?
Justin, you both have seen Reno 911.
Oh, sure.
Of course.
Did Did you guys see those last season or last two seasons or so?
No, dude. I experienced the filter of all the good parts of Reno 911 that get torn out into bootleg posts on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's almost entirely how I've seen Reno 911.
Justin, what about you?
No.
Although I did see the movie. The movie was all right.
The movie was good, but
There
it was
was-
before those final seasons, I think.
Yeah, there was a point in which I realized now that I'm like watching Community that I just stopped watching comedies. Really, like
Really?
Arrested Development and 30 Rock were like the last comedies that I watched, because I definitely didn't watch The Office. I didn't watch Parks and Rec. I didn't watch Community, and certainly Reno 911 would have fallen, amongst those.
Yeah. I equally remembered the filter, Brian, of all the great moments, and then getting back into it, I was like, oh yeah, here are all those characters that they added who were like, okay, but trying to be replacements for really good actors and characters.
Right.
And so there's a lot of it feels flat, and it's tough because the 6 to 10 minute format doesn't feel like it's long enough to really get into a funny mood. Like once the thing goes away, and it's like, you want to watch the next episode? I'm like, okay, well, you've just like completely thrown me out of my game here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, and I
there's
guess
good bits
I guess
in it,
also like you could get surprised at minute 7 of a 23-minute show because you're buckled in for that whole 23 minutes,
Right.
and all of a sudden they hit you with the real funny. Whereas like you can't unknow that you're coming up on the end. Like around minute 6, you got to be like, all right, where's this headed, man? You guys got to
Right.
pay off or no?
And like one of the 3 that they initially put out is like it starts with this. It starts with them bringing back a classic character, and they're doing a bit, and it's like, oh, it's like a funeral procession, and it's the goofy character while everyone's trying to play it straight, and for some reason it's being filmed, and it's like this one cut shot of like, oh, they're bringing they're bringing out the casket, and they're going down the road, and there's a band playing, and the woman's hysterical, and then, oh no, the road is closed, we have to go around, and it's a comedy of errors as they keep trying to find the right way through. And so that goes on for like 5 or 6 minutes, and it was like minute 2 or 3 where I was like, is the whole fucking Quibi this thing? Because it was very slapstick in a way that I was like, I need to get to the next thing, and it wasn't. But the short format made me think, did they try to be a conceptual thing right now? I don't know. So there's good stuff in it.
So wait a minute. In those last few seasons, like who went away? Like which of the main actors went away?
I feel like Niecy Nash was gone, and if anyone in the chat knows, remember, I'm pretty certain Niecy Nash was gone. So I think she's in a little bit of this the Quibi one.
Yeah.
I know there were a few because they added the kind of tomboy lady.
Yeah.
And the kind of the larger, the bigger guy.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
suddenly realized I don't know very many names from Reno 911 at all.
I mean, really, the only names that I know off the top of my head would be Niecy Nash, and I probably wouldn't have remembered that if Bryce hadn't just said it. And then all the people from the state, like Thomas Lennon and.
Oh yeah,
What's
because
his
like Carlos Alazraqui, I think, was one of the ones who left, and I don't think he's in the new ones. So it's weird. I'm definitely gonna keep watching it, just to see, maybe it's trying to get into
all
it.
right.
But
No, there's only 2 Quibi things that I need to know from you, and the first
I only
is,
want to hear turn on the interrogation lights.
Yeah,
It's like I
there's
got
only 2
questions about
Quibi
Quibi.
things. Number 1, you watched the woman with the golden arm episode. But I want to wait. Let's wait for that, because I do want to see what your thoughts are. A friend of the show, Kate Raft, wrote for and has a cameo in
Useless
a
Celeb
Quibi
History.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah. How is that?
Useless Celeb History, in the one that was out yesterday, was great.
Yeah.
It's one of their like daily things, so it's meant to be one of their news everyday things, but I think because of production issues, they are going to have a hiatus after a few weeks. But that's great. It's like, the certain length, like about half of it is like, here are photos and some history of like, here's Rihanna with this amazing dress at the Met Gala, and here's everybody else who was trying, and here's her and footage of it, and then here's a comedy skit where the host goes and he's got this makeshift version of it, and he's in LA trying to find the Met Gala, and it's it's a lot of funny little skits.
And this is Adam Rippon, the figure skater.
Yes. Yeah.
Who was like, geez, I forget even which Olympics it was, but he became, a star because of his like insanely flamboyant outfits and everything, and he really kind of supernovaed. But now I guess he's fully transferring into the celebrity gossip sphere.
Yeah, and I think he's great. I mean, I think it's a mixture of the writing and the execution, right? Going out and doing like field pieces, and also having a like historical element to it. I think it actually works great. It's one of the only Quibi things that actually feels
like, this is good for this platform.
Yeah.
Like it's daily. And that's the thing, is that it's about celebrity history that happened the day you're watching it. Right.
Right. I believe that's the case. Yeah.
All right. So go check that out.
So
awesome stuff.
Do they bury him with the golden arm or not?
All right. Let's get to it.
So
Bryce, you watched it.
I watched the golden arm.
What's the review?
So first off, it's an anthology show, and it's not, it's 50 States of Fright. And so they're kind of doing like the Hulu thing where they're doing holidays as horror movies, but this is every state has its own horror movie. So it's like in 3 Quibi episodes, this one, The Golden Arm.
3 Queebs.
3 Queebies. And boy, is it bad. It's fun. It's fun bad.
Oh my God.
Okay, so here's the one thing that I don't know whether or not I even want the answer for.
Okay.
Because Sam Raimi is somebody that obviously, involves humor, a certain element of
over the topness,
over the top wackiness is a part of it. Is that the vibe he's going? Is this designed to be laughed at, or is it being laughed at because it is too serious of a premise?
Yeah, is he in on the joke?
The production of it is over the top, right? Anytime they do the blood spatter effect, or with the big, he chops off her. He's the one who chops off her arm. Spoiler alert.
The husband
does.
Why?
Because
she gave him the middle finger.
He's a lumberjack, and she was helping him, and a tree fell on her arm, and his thought was, "I'm gonna chop it off."
You know
the thing you do first
when you have a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yeah, exactly. When you have an axe, everything looks like your wife's arm.
And so, like, all of those moments hit well, and they are very exaggerated. There's another blood. There's a lot of blood scene moments in this one, and they're big, and they're kind of. But it doesn't feel like the show is in on it. It feels like it is a little too serious, and I don't know if that's so I haven't watched any of the other states episodes.
Yeah.
By the way, which state?
You guess.
Washington.
He's a lumberjack. I'll tell you that. He's a lumberjack.
Oregon.
No.
I think I know
Washington?
this. I think it's Michigan.
It's Michigan.
Wait.
Yeah.
Is Michigan a big lumber land? That's not what I think of.
I don't know.
No, I think that they're all based off of like folk tales from the region, or at least that is, I think, what
really?
Yeah, I always knew that the Golden Arm as a shitty ghost story that we told each other in elementary school.
It is a shitty ghost story.
Oh, great! She comes back. She wants her golden arm.
And that's the thing, right? Like, it's a horror.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert! She comes back
I mean, we did see the scene where she says, "When I die, bury me with my golden arm."
And he does it.
He does not.
He does.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's a dying wish.
They go into debt to do this. Like, she is so her whole thing is she's the most beautiful. She loves being the most beautiful person in Michigan. And then
Jesus, what snide. What a snide side swipe of Michigan from fucking Bryce Castillo.
Hey, man, don't forget, the glass is cracked on Bryce Castillo now.
I know. Well, no,
give me my golden eyebrow.
This is why the Phantom of the Schwood, Bryce Castillo, now that he has had his beauty taken from him, he has to destroy the self-confidence of others.
How did that C-stand get there? Oh, you haven't heard the legend? No matter where you move it always comes back.
All right, so she's the most beautiful woman in Michigan.
The most beautiful woman in Michigan. And when she loses her arm, like, she's experiencing all the trouble that people who have a disability have, right? Like, oh, I don't have both arms. And like, kids look at me on the street and they go, whoa. And I go, yeah. But then when she is offered a prosthetic, right, she said, no, it's ugly. And then her lumberjack husband designs it. He designed the golden arm. He has like a CAD PhD or something. And he's like, I've made you this arm. Would you like this arm?
First, I chainsaw sculpted a model and then had it scanned.
And so she's like, okay, but only if it's gold. And so they take out like a loan, like they go into debt to make this arm. And then she demands that she be buried in it, which I think.
Also, how did she get sick? Oh, she was rejecting the arm.
She has gold. She gets gold disease. And if you have gold, it's bad for you, apparently.
Seems like there's a safe way to have a golden arm. Like it feels like
a cloth or
some element
rag.
to just make sure that you're not absorbing the gold.
Saran wrap.
This is actually I am a lot more.
Wendy's napkin would match the gold.
This is a story that I think actually really benefits from knowing how it ends, because all of a sudden I'm willing to forgive all of this knowing that it ends with a ghost trying to get back her arm.
Okay, so wait, hold on. How many queebs until she is dead and becomes a ghost?
She dies at the end of the second queeby and is buried. And
there's fucking 2/3 of it are before the ghosts show up?
Yeah. And the ghost, the third act, the third queeb is, you know how in horror you really want all of the scary tension to happen really, really, really fast and not build up any pressure or tension?
No, that's usually the opposite.
Yeah.
But see, with this one, he's like, I'm going to dig it up. And he does it. And then.
Sorry, he's the one that digs it up?
He digs it up.
It's always a grave robber.
Because he lost all the money. He lost all the money making the gold.
And also, he's a fairly famous actor, and they had to give him something to do. So.
He got paid in that golden arm.
Oh, well, the excuse is, well, no one is buying handmade furniture anymore. And there's a scene of him in like an artisanal store, and he's holding the shittiest looking stool I've ever seen. Like, it's not even it's not sanded or cut really even. It just looks like a trunk.
Just grabbed it from IKEA or something.
IKEA would look at least manufactured. This would look like a tree trunk that he like used scissors on or something. And so like very quickly it goes from like grave robbing to he's at the house and there's a ghost and she kills him. Like does
she say, I want my golden arm?
Does she?
Like that,
I think she does.
That's always the punchline. Is you're like the tale is a grave robber grabs oh my god, a golden arm. This is payday.
Yeah.
But then he's going to sleep one night hugging a golden arm and he hears, I want my golden arm. And then that's the runner. And then and then you build up the tension over a long time.
Oh,
see, this
we
is the
don't have a
old
long
way.
time.
I know.
We don't have a long time.
And then it's one of those gags where around the campfire you get everybody tense, and then you snap to the closest person and go, "You got my golden arm," and then they all jump and then you laugh.
Yeah. No. Instead, she like immediately gets into the home and finds it and finds him and then takes care of him.
And then that's it.
And that's it. Oh, so there's another thing. So there's a framing device. And I don't know if this is in the other ones. If someone's watched this, let me know. There's a framing device where they are interviewing someone else. Oh, yeah. You know about the guy with the wife with the golden arm?
Oh, no. Yeah. No, we saw that in the viral clip. There's like a guy, like it goes into like documentary style of like, well, that's the thing about the golden arm. She couldn't take it off.
Yeah. And so he very helpfully reminds us that because they find the dead guy and the at-peace woman together in their marital bed with the golden arm. And the townspeople buried them together, and everyone knows where that golden arm is, but no one would dare dig it up. and smash.
And then he steepled his fingers maniacally.
No one would.
Yeah. But that's insane.
It's
like, how
crazy.
do you not? She's got to die in the first queeb.
Actually,
And
I mean,
then
she
She loses the arm in the first queeb.
I mean, to be honest, she shouldn't be in it at all. It should be two kids telling a folktale in the first 2 minutes. Then it should be turn out like at the end of the first queeb, they're like that some grave robber finds the arm, and then it ends. Then the second one, he tells his maniacal, sinister grave robbing friends, and then somebody in the corner of the bar where sponsored by Coors Light, they're playing, and they're like, I wouldn't grab that if I wasn't you, and then it was like, why? And they're like, oh, you're talking about that crazy tale. You're like, I'm gonna get it, and then at the end, he first hears, he's starting to get tortured by, I want my gold. I want my God. And he's like, what?
And the whole time through the 3 queebs, we see like, oh, is that her in the background? Is someone following her?
Ooh,
you can actually build up tension instead of
And then the whole third queeb is nothing but I want my golden arm, and it just builds.
But that's the
Look at
thing.
that, man! I
To
just
me,
got goosebumps thinking about that. That'd be all right.
Sell it.
To
Give us
me,
a show.
if you're already paying for Mrs. Maisel, then Mrs. Maisel has to show up prime time in the majority of it, right? So I get doing the prequel of whatever this relationship is, but she's got to die at the end. That's your story. Tragic tale, husband, wife, dead, golden, or hand chopped off. That's your halfway point. Golden arm, she dies with the golden arm. Then it's him. Now it's his breakdown. Second queeb, his breakdown of like, I'm gonna try and make an honest living selling apples. Apples for sale. Fuck you, Apple man. Ah shit, you stepped on all my apples. Now I'm broke.
We don't call it Orange County for nothing.
It's almost as though the end of the second act would find a character at his lowest point when he decides to rob the grave of his own wife.
Now, what if I
Exactly,
told you
right?
his lowest point was him in his wood shop looking woefully at the ground, and it cuts to the ground, and in pieces of twine, the words "I miss you" are written out on the ground.
Please tell me this happened.
Oh my God. No, but in this version, you'd have like some rich lady saying like, my Fabergé egg is worthless without a stand. If only I had a golden arm. I'd
pay you a
top
finder's
dollar.
Well, haven't you heard the legends? I don't care cockadoodie about any local brouhaha. You get me that golden arm.
Exactly. And so then he sells it at the end, and that's like he's in his like new mansion that he's purchased, and that you end on like, I want my golden arm. And he's like, fuck, did I leave Amazon Prime on? Oh no, it's my
And
dead
you're like,
Mrs.
Echo,
Maisel wife.
shut up.
Yeah. And then the third one, you go full fucking
horror.
ghost story, horror,
Yeah.
fucking,
It's
like
just
you do
Alien.
all
The
that shit.
third
Oh,
act
yeah.
is just Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then and you get all the Raimi like like zoom like oh my God, the golden arm. And
God
so
damn, man, do we fix some Hollywood shit or what?
Hire us to punch up your stuff.
Give us $1 billion to fold
and
within
that's
the
thing
first
is
year.
you'd be able to keep Mrs. Maisel in the whole thing because you're not going to pay her if you're not going to put her in as much as possible by having her in flashbacks in the middle one. So she's dead, but they can flash back to like, I don't know, she's like, well, you can always fall back on your apple degree, honey. And meanwhile, he's looking down at all these stepped on apples. And
I will design the perfect apple one day.
yeah.
It'll be a golden apple. Where will I find the gold, though?
Cut to
Yeah.
him at his CAD. Why does he have CAD?
I want to. Oh man, the only thing that'd make it better if it was a montage. Tell me it was like a montage of him making the a Tony Stark montage of prototyping it.
It's the opposite. He's like, "Hey, sweetheart, come here. I designed an arm. I designed stuff, and here's an arm.
Yeah.
But it must be out of gold." Crazy.
Oh man,
Got
got like a low budget.
Yeah.
He doesn't have Jarvis. He actually uses his Google Assistant. He's just barking at it.
Yeah.
Load CAD. No. AutoCAD. No.
Would you like me to email Carl?
Now playing the Beatles.
Yeah. So 50 States of Fright, not so good, Al, huh?
I don't know.
I mean-
it's schlocky. It's schlocky horror.
Well, that sounds like sloppy horror. Like schlocky horror, at least, like it's like another excuse to show somebody's tits or blood or something like. Are there any tits on Queeby?
Are there tits on Queeby? I don't think I've seen
Merrill
any.
Bart, I know he's watching.
please let us know if there
Are there tits on Queeby?
tits on Queeby. I don't.
First of all, I thought that was a pitch you were making. Would be a new show.
I mean, if it ain't, it ought to be. I think they are due for a pivot, and I know the perfect thing that'll get everybody talking. Tits on Queeby.
The theme song is Girls on Film. Tits on Queeby.
Can you imagine we roll in fucking to fucking Meg Whitman's office and we're just like, hey, look, we know that you're on the rocks. This whole thing has gone tits up, but maybe that's a good thing. Tits on Queeby.
Oh man. People are saying in the chat that it's our fault they're talking politics in the chat because we're talking about Queeby. So apparently whatever we talk about they won't. Justin, did we talk about yesterday? I know we talked about it on Cord Killers, but I can't remember if you and I talked about that Rick and Morty episode. Did you watch that?
I didn't yet. No.
Okay.
In fact, I was going to watch it on Sunday, and I told my wife, I gotta watch this, and she's like, I haven't really caught up with Rick and Morty, and I'm like, it's Rick and Morty, like you don't need to catch up with anything. It's like they always, just talk about stuff. It's all new usually, like and anything that isn't, like it's just like a reward for watching it. It's not like another thing. And she's like, no, let's just watch Community. And I'm like, man, if I don't watch it now, it's gonna get ruined because the internet is gonna talk about it. And I'm friends with Brian Brushwood. And he'll just say, this isn't a spoiler, and then explain the entire episode and all the funny jokks.
This isn't a spoiler,
no.
But she gets buried with her golden arm, comes back from the dead.
No, my review of that was very spoilery. You know what I did watch today? Was the Parks and Rec special.
Oh, was it good?
It's been a few years since I've seen Parks and Rec, and so I would be interested to see if you have the same warmth to it that I didn't.
Just because you're distant from it?
Because I'm kind of distant from it.
How much of it could be just the nature of the way it was shot, and maybe it just comedically wasn't very good because everybody was in isolation?
I think they do a fine job of editing around. You can kind of see it if you're looking for it in the ways that they kind of cut back and forth between stuff. But I think mostly that stuff works fine. But it's
they're talking about Queeby in the chat now.
And I think
I see it says, did anyone else not know that Queeby stands for quick bites?
But I think because I know that there was some concern issued of like, oh well, they do a thing for the final season that might make it weird, but you can just jump right in and watch the special. And maybe that's better while you're in the midst of watching the show, because like I think it's a little hammy. Right? Like it's all
it's got to be hard because a lot of these people obviously have not played these characters in many years. So there's going to be a disconnect compared to when they were in a flow. There's no rehearsal. Apparently they all literally just got cameras delivered to their apartments and houses and shot it they weren't doing it together. They all shot their parts like in just multiple takes and then edited everything together.
And I think there's one part at the end where if you hadn't just told me that, Justin, I would have thought, okay, well they must have done some amount of this together because there's a thing that they do, but that thing you could very easily do there are other ways around it.
I don't know. I mean, they might have had somebody on the other side of the Skype reading lines to go back and forth, but apparently they were not all together at one time.
That's interesting because I hadn't really paused to think of how much of what makes Parks and Rec great is how they're able to preserve that straight face tension in the room, when they're all really there. And if you ever see the outtakes, you're only barely holding on to that straight face. But if you're not actually interacting with anyone, I would imagine that would take something out of it.
And I think that there are not stakes. I think that it's very low stakes what they're trying to. I mean, it takes place today, like
long after the events of Parks and Rec.
Well, and it's taking place in a coronavirus space,
a coronavirus version of Pawnee or wherever.
Yeah, right? And so it's a lot of like, make sure you go for a walk. Hey, Leslie, nope, don't overwork yourself trying to talk to all of your friends. Let's go let's go on a TV show and tell people to wash their hands. It's a little after school specially in that way.
Oh, speaking of which, did you notice that very valuable real estate right before Westworld that's normally spent on promoting other HBO shows was entirely nothing but a bunch of HBO stars saying, just talking about how bad you must feel being at home.
I do remember that. And it started with Lena Dunham, and I skipped it because I thought, this is not even.
Yeah, it turns out it's all of the start, like John Turturro's on there, like all the HBO folks, and all it is like, hey man, it's okay that you feel like a piece of shit, you feel like garbage, and you're scared, and you're all alone, and you're trapped in your room. It's really okay. That's literally the whole message, is that it's okay that you're fucked up and you're scared. Anyway, here's a hotline.
I mean, celebrities. Like, I mean, I get it. You're a celebrity. A lot of people care about you. Now, all of a sudden, not as many people care about you because you can't do the thing that makes people care about you. But boy, is there just like, I don't really got time. Unless you are doing the thing. And that's why at least Parks and Rec, they did the thing. It wasn't like, and now a round table of Chris Pratt and what's her butt and Aubrey Plaza and the other guy. Like, it was like, no, they did the bit. They all did their characters. Whether or not they were great at it, at least they were trying to do the thing that you know and love them for.
Right.
Yeah, I guess
the rest of it.
The part that was fucking me up on that HBO thing was it wasn't, it's okay if you feel bad, if you feel scared, if you don't know what to do or whatever. It was just like, it's okay that, like the ascribing of all of these emotions to me was very curious.
Well, and I do think that there are people out there who probably need to know that things are weird and they're not how they used to be right now, and it's not easy, and we don't have rock solid answers that work for everybody.
Sure.
But it sounds like the execution on that was maybe not great.
Well, it just it's a bit surprising to me, and certainly well intentioned. And you're right. There's probably somebody that would not be reached with the phrasing of if that was reached with the phrasing that, you are definitely this way and it's okay.
Yeah.
But boy, them being celebrities and not doctors does color it just a little bit.
It is a little weird. It's just like, all right, if you really care, then put on a doctor or somebody who's like literal, their job is like, oh no, I publicly communicate mental health.
I think that's the other thing, is that this is a slot normally reserved for an HBO Flex of other HBO stuff. So it remained an HBO Flex of all their top quality talent showing up as themselves to deliver a very preachy mental health message that would probably be best delivered by a doctor and not
what if they were all playing their characters and you got like Edie Falco and she was like, Tony, why don't you wash your hands? Like, I would be down for that. Like, even if that's shitty, at the very least, it's like, and I don't know, this might be cynical, but I'm like, all right, you're all fucking trick dogs. Just do your backflip and this time have like 6 feet apart on a little fucking sweater that somebody knit for you. Like, just do your bit, and if you need to get your message out, then get your message out like that. But if you ain't spinning a plate, I don't give a fuck, Lena Dunham. Show your... All right, I'm gonna say something really mean about Lena Dunham, but...
like, here's your golden arm. Now get out of here.
Yeah.
The Army Award for bad horror.
Man, we got anything else? Started almost on time today.
Yeah. Do we have a guest on Night Attack tonight?
No, but we do have a game. Someone sent in a game.
Oh, I don't think I've watched the 4th episode of What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, it's pretty good. Oh, by the way, we got to get Jacob on from Ice Cream Social.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He asked me to be on, and so I was like holding off on like roping him in as we were dealing with the tech stuff. But now that the tech stuff seems like it's calmed down a bit, we should probably bring him on.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Feel free to if you can remind me in a textual way, that'd be great.
I will. I will.
Get texty with
get
it. All right. Man, I guess that puts this one in the banks. Thank you to everybody to join us for Happy Hour, Quibi Talk, and some politicking.
Entertainment and news.
All right, we'll see you guys. Bye.
So